Now, I'm someone who's worked in the finance industry for over 10 years, Goldman Sachs, HSBC, Morgan Stanley, studied economics at LSE. I've worked at many top firms, and one thing that comes up again and again is the absolute crazy nature of working in one of the big four accounting firms, KPMG, KPMG, PwC, Deloitte, Ernst Young, and there's lots of interesting takes here in this video I'm going to show with you and react to and give you some additional context on about the real world impact of working at one of these companies, right? Because sometimes you hear these big name companies, maybe you're studying accounting or finance and you think, oh, I want to work for one of these big four accounting firms, but do you actually know what it's like beyond the way they present it in this super nice corporate way? There's a lot of horror stories at these type of companies, and there's something I want to share with you here.
This makes me so happy I decided against that Big Four offer. Imagine being worried about getting in trouble for working 9 hours, then going home just to work more. Whatever y'all are making for this, it ain't worth it. Big Four legit thinks they own you because you make barely enough to afford an apartment by yourself.
Now, that's a bit of a kind of interesting story there on your screen right now. So someone who's working hard in the Big Four accounting firms, and they're posting online on an internet forum that they're working quite long hours and then are expected to go home and then work from home again and not make enough money to buy a place to live and so on. So this is the reality. I don't know what it is with these big four firms. They really think they own your life, right? And they don't typically pay well compared to some of the jobs in the industry. You'll be working hard. You have to constantly play office politics to suck up to the right people to be put on the new consulting, accounting opportunities while you're at the company. It's like you join the company and then you got to play office politics to be on the right projects that are going to pay well. And then on top of that, you got to deal with working long hours, and a lot of things are done hyper inefficiently. I've seen them. You see so much time wasting, and it's a very dodgy way they run some of their companies sometimes. So you got to be expecting that they're going to really try to own your time and dominate your time. So try to work effectively if you can, or if you are going for these jobs, understand you try and keep it in your mind you're going to stay there for 2 to 3 years before you go to a job that maybe gives you a bit more life flexibility. Next up, we're going to talk about the weird workplace environment that they have, right? So, I mean, there can be good things, as I say, with these big four consulting firms. You could maybe get some big paydays if the consulting and aspect of these big four firms is doing well, if their accounting department is doing well. But there are sorts of weird etiquette that I've noticed from my experience of working with some of these firms, right? Here it says, the etiquette of PwC is weird, at especially this office in New York, 300 Madison. The company culture is kind of different. If you come in early, it can help you get your work done, but they prefer you from a perception standpoint to stay late. So that's the first point. You might be working at one of these top firms and think, okay, cool, well, I just want to work efficiently and get the work done and come in a bit early and then leave on time. But they'll think, oh, if you come in early at like 7 a.m. and then you leave at 5 p.m., they go, oh, you're leaving at 5 p.m. They won't say it directly. This will be the general vibe. You're not working hard enough. You're not doing a good enough job, even if you work efficiently. And this is something I've realized, that like perception is reality in the corporate environment. It's not about who's working the hardest, who's doing the best quality work. It's the perception that matters. So what you need to do is kind of rejig your life to be like, okay, there's no point coming in early to get the work done in a quiet office. You'd rather, come in on time around 9 a.m. and then you kind of stay a bit later to give the impression that you're doing more work, right? This is the weird thing that you got to do, and just restructure your life around that. So maybe you're someone who preferred to work early in the morning, finish on time, and go to the gym in the evening. Restructure your life. And this is the unfortunate thing about the big four firms. And then maybe go gym in the morning, spend some time relaxing, then you can go to work and maybe work a bit later into the evening to keep the perception up. Because unfortunately, you think these big corporations care about productivity and efficiency and profit, but it's really, when you're there, it's all about perception and office politics and people vying for power and promotions and so on. And the second point here, it goes on about, leaving early is the best thing. And then the third point around, letting your manager know you're leaving. The weird place about the workplace environment is sometimes you're treated like a child. You have to kind of, you're like the company's babysitting you, even though you're a grown adult. You can't like arrive on time, leave on time. You have to ask your manager, oh, I'm leaving now. Is that okay? Like you're at school and you're like, oh, can I leave? It's 3 p.m. It's the end of the school day. Now it's the end of the work day, 6 p.m. Can I leave, please? It's just weird, right? You can't just get your work done and go home. They want you to play the game. Now, next up, we have another instance of how important it is to be visible at work. It's not about who's doing the work, it's about who brags most about the work they're doing so they can get promoted quite quickly.
Used to it, but frequently so that it doesn't look like you're trying to duck out. This can be as simple as, hey, I'm going to catch the train, but I'll see you online. Bro, just true, right? You got to be visible. It's all about visibility when it comes to being promoted and moving up. It's not about overtime. It's not about the quality of your work even. It's just about visibility. When dinner orders are showing up and you've not ordered dinner, you should definitely leave. Of the days as the waterfall. It's a toxic company when they start labeling times of the day because of senior people moving around the office, because everyone was waiting for the partner to leave first. Then 15 minutes later, the SM would leave, and then 15 minutes later, the manager, the senior, and so forth. This exercise has absolutely nothing to do with productivity and everything about maintaining an image.
So that's quite an important thing to do, right? Quite important thing. I mean, it's linked to the time you start and end your workday. I like to work hyper efficiently, get the work done, and arrive on time, leave on time. I don't want to waste time chit-chatting, talking rubbish at the water cooler, gossiping about co-workers. I'm not really here to get involved in the social dynamics of work. I don't go to work to make friends. I go to do work and get paid, right? So this is how ridiculous the corporate environment can be. You're expected to, okay, cool, you have to time. What time is your manager leaving the office? You got to leave 5 minutes later, but not you. Maybe you leave 10 minutes later after your manager leaves and the next most senior person leaves. It's just ridiculous. It's like we're all adults here. We're not like children, but you're treated like a child in that way. It's not really, like I say, the productivity is not important. As you can see at the bottom of this video right now, this exercise has absolutely nothing to do with productivity and everything to do with maintaining an image. So if you work in a big four firm right now, leave a comment below and let me know what you think about this, because I've interviewed there at those type of places and I've got that type of vibe. Have you been dealing with this type of scenario? Let me know, because I'm sure they've got a ton of other stories about dealing with this type of weird workplace environment where it's not based on productivity, it's based on who's playing the office politics in a weird way.
Like, are you it seems like everyone there is just existing in this mindset of what I might look like to other people at the company instead of what does my work look like to the company, and is there any issues there? My advice would be get a job that doesn't require optics nonsense. Get a job that rewards merit, and not by social capital either. This guy has the right idea. The etiquette before entering the office.
Now, what we can see here, right, this guy's giving a funny example of, you know, the etiquette to enter the office is to face the direction of the CEO's office and offer a prayer or something. He's making a bit of a joke here. Now, what we're trying to point out is that perception is reality and that visibility is more important than actually getting the work done, right? So what you need to do is either you move to a workplace, maybe a small accounting firm that is actually driven by profitability, where they actually just want you to get the work done and it's like a standard 9 to 5, and then you have a side business on the side doing whatever you want to do, or for spend your free time however you choose. That's a good option. But this idea that you're going to work at one of the big four firms and you're going to have to play all these games is just the reality. Perception is reality. So you got to lean into that real heavy and be like, oh, well, what they care about is not whether I do a great job. I can do an average job, but just talk to the right people in the office, suck up to the right people, arrive basically at 9 a.m. and pretend like you've been there for several hours, and then leave just after your senior manager leaves at like 6 p.m., things like that. You know, I've seen that type of thing, and it does kind of pay off in a sense in a workplace environment, as long as you do that in addition to sucking up to management. It's not just you can go to work and get your work done and even play the game a bit by leaving a bit late and arriving a bit early or whatever. It's really about the best thing you can do for your career is like try to be popular in the office. That's the crazy thing about the workplace environment. Is if not the most productive person that prospers, is the most popular person.
Doing enough. Hey guys, is everyone really logging 55 hours every week during busy season? I've fallen a few hours short this week. I have plenty of work, but it's not taking the full 55 hours. Can I get in trouble for not logging the full 55? Help, this is my third busy season with the firm. Another post where everyone just sounds scared all the time. We have a few reasonable answers in the comments, but then we have people like this who are just, I guess, projecting. You're doing less work during your busy season than in the off season. And then this guy says, dude, you gotta chill then. That's wild. This guy's just working 55 hours a week, I guess just cuz. He has to make that into one-upping someone else. This is not the culture that you want. If you don't have any sense of boundaries, then they'll just put you into the orange press, juice you for everything that you're worth,
So firstly, key point, you have workplace boundaries in terms of, like I say, what time you start and finish, having a standard lunch break. Set your boundaries, like what works for you versus what works for the company. Otherwise, you're going to get exploited by the company you're working for. Another important thing is kind of acknowledging here that there's some people who are going to suck up and maximize all the hours that they should be working, and that's not sustainable, and those type of people do burn out, and you might not see it immediately, but over time, I know it sounds a bit funny or a bit direct, but some of these people, you see they're aging quicker, they look a lot older than other people their age, they're look kind of unhappy or unfulfilled in their life, even if they're climbing the corporate ladder quite quickly, because they're kind of constantly insecure about worrying about how the manager perceiving them and things like that. There's no way to live. I think that's very unhealthy to live in this insecure, climb the corporate ladder like a rat type of scenario. And the other thing is, you're given certain work hours to work, whether it's 40 hours or 55 hours or whatever's in your job contract. And sometimes you might be expected to work a slightly more or slightly less than that. But sometimes this is really exploited by the consulting firms, the big four accounting firms, right? They want you to work super intensely all the time, overtime, without getting paid extra for overtime, in the evenings, maybe on the weekends, things like that. And also what they'll expect from you is they will think, oh, all those work hours should be filled with work all the time. But the reality is, for any business, any job, you have busy periods and quiet periods. You're not always going to be working solidly 55 hours each week. Some weeks you might have 30 hours work, and some weeks you might have 55 hours of work. So this is what it is, right? You've got to be able to be realistic with that. And how do you manage that if you're in a consulting firm? Firstly, certain work items, you just give the impression it's taking longer than other work items than they think it would, right? If they give you a work task and they think it should take 3 hours, then you can just say, well, actually, it's going to take 6 hours on the basis of this. You don't have to be direct like that, but give yourself that extra space, that extra breathing time. And if things are a bit slow, then do your best to kind of leverage that. If you're at the desk and you can't leave the desk, do things a bit at a slower pace and enjoy your kind of time and being able to work at a slower pace. Because when you're working on the busy period, that busy season, no one's going to cut you any slack. So you might as well cut yourself some slack when things are quiet, and don't let them exploit you throughout the year. Maybe just 3 months when you are particularly busy during around, say, the tax time, the accounting season. But the rest of the year, maybe take it a little bit easier so you don't burn out, right? Otherwise, these companies will juice you, like he was saying, and exploit you.
Thanking him for being a great employee and being part of the team, but also you're getting put on a PIP. Had an impromptu chat with my RL relationship something last.
So in this scenario, and you can see on your screen right now, what he's trying to explain is that he was working, that you have this instance of this person who was working at PwC, and they were put on a PIP, which is a performance improvement plan, which is basically another way of saying that, you're going to be put on this performance improvement plan, which means the company doesn't think you're doing a good enough job. You need to do more work. You probably won't meet the targets we're going to set, and then we can fire you without paying you a layoff, kind of a severance package. So this is the reality. You're working for a company. They're going to treat you quite poorly, treat you like a bit of a slave, not pay you that well compared to working in industry if you are working in some of these accounting firms. They're going to use up all your time. You're always in a position of insecurity. Does the manager like me? Doesn't the manager like me? Did I say the wrong thing? Do my co-workers like me? Are they going to give me a bad performance review? It's completely anxiety-inducing, insecure environment to be in. You're dealing with really cutthroat people that smile in your face and might gossip about you and stab you in the back. And then on top of that, you're dealing with these instances where maybe you're a hardworking, loyal employee, and out of nowhere, they can give you a PIP, a performance improvement plan, which is basically like, yeah, you're doing lots of work, but we don't think you're good enough, and we're going to give you 6 months to improve, and then if you don't meet our unrealistic standards, we're going to fire you. So typically, if you're put on a PIP, you should start looking for another job. Just take that as a sign that they want you to leave the company, but they're not going to tell you directly, and they don't want to pay you a severance package or a layoff package. Just plan to leave, right? And I would, if my recommendation, if you are on a PIP, depending on, in most cases, it's not a genuine attempt from the company to help you work better so you can stay at the company before they fire you. What it really is they want you to they're going to set unrealistically high standards and then try to fire you as soon as they can. But if you're in this scenario, just start looking for another job, look for other opportunities. And what you should do is not get stressed out about the job you do have. Just quickly try to, go any other alternative job you can get, rather than try to burn yourself out and impress them. Current, in this case, it's PwC, when they probably won't be too happy with you anyway. If they put you on a PIP, they're trying to get rid of you. So let's move on to the last little segment here.
Everything that is wrong with corporate. High school games, in my opinion, drama, politics. You can't leave before the other guy because he's worked here longer than you, and unwritten rule. That is just, it's everything that is wrong with corporate. People don't want to do this anymore. And this company, well, I guess they're going strong with it. Maybe I'm the crazy one here. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Would you work it?
So this is what he's saying here. You deal with a lot of high school games, and the truth is that office environment is incredibly close to and similar to the high school environment. There's a lot of kind of petty gossip, petty office politics. There's a lot of social hierarchies that aren't based on who's getting the top grades at work or who's getting the highest performance. Your entire corporate environment is based on perception and who's being favored, who's looked upon favorably, who's one of the manager's favorites, not who's the most productive person. Like being at high school, who's the teacher's pet, who's the cool kid at school. It's like that. It's like, I haven't watched that movie, but those high school movies, Mean Girls, things like that, that's more of an accurate representation of the workplace environment, particularly now because of feminism and how that's created a toxic workplace environment, a hostile workplace environment for men. It really is this kind of gossipy environment that's based around sucking up to a handful of men in positions of power who might be popular or who that woman might prefer to work with than it is about who's productive. And that's a really difficult scenario to accept. And also you can see in the Big Four from these examples and these honest forum posts that people have that they can't discuss in the corporate environment how bad it can get. Now, I try to help my clients deal with these type of scenarios, and that's why I offer these 3 solutions, right? The links are in the description. Firstly, I have a free ebook that has some 10 career tips based on my experience in investment banking that will help you for any corporate career. Secondly, I offer a one-to-one call, 15-minute call. I'll discuss with you your career goals, finance queries, anything like that. And then lastly, I offer a one-on-one detailed corporate career coaching program, right, called Control. Firstly, it's to help you find career fulfillment, rejig your career trajectory and your career path to something that actually works for you. Secondly, to find some time freedom, so you can maybe get some more remote work from home, freelancing, things like that. Thirdly, I help you be rich forever in the sense of, saving, budgeting and investing so you can live the life you want. And then lastly, to help you build a life you love, right? Because your life, when you pick a career, you pick a lifestyle, right? So your life should be in a good cohesion with your career. And that's something I try to help people do through my coaching programs. If you're interested, all the links are in the description below. And I look forward to seeing some of your comments below in terms of if you've had similar experiences in the Big Four. The 2 recommended videos on your screen right now, a free ebook in the description, and I'll see you next time.